just answering questions with WebTech. A visitor to the channel that used to be part of a whole group of people that would harass and harangue people, but has a channel with actual content on it, decided to come by and ask me a question or make a statement. If anybody's curious about it or not, I put up a video with very few views talking about high-pressure hydraulic tubing, like you would use for the brakes in a car. It doesn't matter that this may or may not have been a question that was asked months ago or yesterday. It was something I couldn't solve, and I found a solution. If you're not aware of it, many industries, I'm very angry with the shoe industry today, have standards and have information that they don't share to the public that would make it to where you have a definitive advantage when dealing with them. For instance, something I'm very near and dear to my heart, eyeglasses. The lenses that I'm using in this, if you can't tell, are essentially flat, and then this way they're not flat. They tend to produce a focal point and a magnification effect. They are the lenses that are used for testing your vision. The trial lenses and that weird doohickey you're supposed to wear. And they're considered a durable good, meaning they're used with the little metal frames that come around with them for decades. Now, what if you were to take them out and put them into a set of glasses? This used to be the default size for glasses. They're about, I think they're 1 inch or 1.5 inch. It's 35 millimeters. I think it's 1.5 inches. Don't quote me on that because I don't care. The point is, the lens itself is a different diameter than the little ring that went around it. And that little ring that goes around it with a little handle, you might be able to look up, is almost identical to the frames used, you can use to make a set of glasses. And yes, it's possible to make a set of glasses out of the parts you get for making the test lenses. That means at one time, and depending on when you check, even today, you can buy a set of glasses for $10. You can also buy a set of glasses that have plastic lenses for $5 total for both lenses. And you can buy them to your prescription, almost, if not absolutely perfectly matching your prescription. The worse your eyes are, the more you can be kind of vague at the diopter number or whatever. And for a long time, my vision was messed up because my eyes would overreact to the lenses. That's a common problem, apparently. That's why when you come out of the eyeglass shop, usually, but not always, they don't really fit you. They force your eyes to change focal length or habit so that you will accommodate for the lenses rather than the other way around. The trouble is that usually causes a person to become more nearsighted or more farsighted, meaning worse vision. I didn't want to go through that, and the practical upshot of this is that as of today, after the age of 50, my vision has gotten less bad over time after hitting 45 by carefully selecting the lenses and making them as weak as I can get away with so my eyes still work and try to correct my vision. And it's worked mostly. Instead of being 3.75 and 4.25, it's 3.25 and 2.75 or something like that. A whole diopter better, not needing as much correction. Now, me explaining that to you isn't something that most people would look up, but there's no rule against you buying the lenses and making your own glasses. You just have to know how to do it. And if you're nearsighted, there's a specific way of doing it, and it involves math, and I've already done a video on this, and it was on a channel that got deleted, but nobody cared, right? Some of you are wanting that video right now. The thing about being on the internet is there's a narrow group of people that'll be interested in whatever the hell it is you're talking about. Period. And I'm one of those people that's interested in a lot of weird things, so I end up finding things that I can't get answers on. The video I put up is called Steel Brake Line Tubing and Hydraulic Pipe OD and Wall Thickness Tables, and then an adventure in ambiguity about the inner diameter. And if you're not aware of this, even though you might think the inner diameter of a piece of tubing may be very, very important for hydraulic or mechanical or air compressor needs or whatever, and it is, it's normally not noted on any file system out there concerning water pipe, electrical tubing, copper tubing, hydraulic lines. I hadn't done a hydraulic line video, even though I had a request for it 2 years ago, because I couldn't find the information. I finally ran into only 3 websites that tried to explain this. The rest of it just explained it by, we use these 8 thicknesses of material to make the tubing out of. That's not really helpful. I can generate automatically a lookup table for these things, but that doesn't mean they're available. On the other end of it, tubing used for making roll cages for a car or aircraft frames have to include both, because then you can make fittings or make decisions about which ones fit within each. What you do is you buy the tubing you want for, let's say, the roll cage in your car, and then when you want them to line up perfectly, you find a piece of tubing that's about the same size as the inside and put it in and have it jam fit. If it's too small, you cut it down the middle and spread it open so it jam fits it. And you can rivet it together or grind the edge of the pipes a little bit to where there's a V cut into them and then weld into them, and that will actually do a good job making a well-made frame. And you can also do this in a way that makes it to where that little metal shim inside of it also is part of the weld. Now that's a very obscure piece of information, but there's 100 other uses for it. Now that I can find data on, but only, again, 3 sources. Now, if you're not aware of it, it's not that I just stopped looking at 3 sources. Going through 20 pages of Google lookups, using every possible combination of keywording, couldn't find any more than 3 that would just explicitly tell you what the inner diameter of a piece of tubing is for hydraulics. Even the hydraulics manuals that tell you what you should choose give a rounded off estimate. For something as precise and maybe safety conscious as the brakes in your car, not having that bit of data that would make the math immediately much easier, that's a little bit weird. Now with hydraulics, maybe that's not important. Yes, it is. So, as you might imagine, finding 3 sources and archiving them and then putting them onto a page I built and a further page with an expanded set, yeah, that's something I'm going to do. It's been done once. Here's another one. We're at the 3-minute and 15-second mark. This is a good one. The listing of every single work before 300 AD back to 300 BC that was put to paper as being, quote-unquote, the scriptures. That includes the Apocrypha, all the other stuff that was rejected, heretical texts that aren't really heresy, because back then heresy just meant I don't like it, it makes me look bad, or I can't get away with something as a king. Looking up the absolute, complete works that are claimed to be the scriptures means that instead of a little Bible that you get, or maybe a very tiny one in very, very fine print, you end up with a library, almost like the Library of Alexandria, and equally torched. The only reason any of it's available is someone sat down, knew there was going to be a question about this, and saved copies of some of it. These are all word-of-mouth stories, legends, folk tales, a verbal history that was preserved from 300 BC to 300 AD in some way, in Koine Greek, Aramaic, Hebrew, and who knows how many other languages, because people wanted to record it. Do you care about it? Most of you don't. Even religious people don't care about it, because the ones who claim to be religious in the comment section always misquote the Bible, even the one they're holding. But people like me would collect that and store it in a library. I don't know what you're saying, but it sounds pretty smart. I just can't find the reason how it could make my life more complete or help me along in any way, shape, or form. This must be a subject that only pertains to a few people. Can you direct me to a channel that has more to offer the majority, if you can? I keep looking for useful information, and all I find are channels like yours. It's almost like you were all let out of the same prison or a work release program. I never seen regular people work so hard at nothing. Makes me wonder. And the person posting this has a channel where he plays video games, plays with one of those drone helicopters, and at one time, several years ago, expended a shit ton of effort going from channel to channel to channel, threatening people with death, threatening to find their houses, helping out someone who did the same thing because this person was bored. That's literally the MO of this person. It's one of the dirty half dozen. He visits my channel on a regular basis. This is the first civil comment he's made in 5 years. The rest of them are all insults and threats. your content appeals to a narrow group of people that are into that particular video game or into that particular RC helicopter or toy car or drone with a camera on it. And those used to be very narrow subjects. Now everybody wants to have drone videos. They're awesome. You could hire yourself out as a drone pilot. You're good enough, if you're watching. You're good enough to do this. In fact, I hope you do. I don't even know. And this is a person who would say, I'm going to dox you and find your location, but did videos of his house with a drone so we all knew where he was, and contacted the police department, or could have, if he had threatened us anymore. And doesn't care. This is a person who made a hobby of harassing people on the internet, but I'm the person providing no content that's more appealing to the masses. My hobby's better than yours. And again, hire yourself out as a drone pilot. You're good at it. I mean, very good. Even with the thing doing most of the work for you. Guy has a good sense of space and how to do an image. Request. I'm not going to pay you for it. Go out from an area not in your area and see if you can follow a pathway in a park and see how well you can track with it by pointing straight down with the camera, and keep an eye on it. Do it in such a way that you're doing a very good job following the path. If you can do that, and that's actually one of the tests, that would mean that you could probably get your drone pilot license, which doesn't cost that much, and hire yourself out and make a living at it. And if nothing else, you put up really interesting content for the masses. Or you could go back to coming to my channel and telling me that you think I'm a person who escaped from a prison, etc. All things that I end up deleting every single time. Yes, this is the first time that this individual has posted a civil comment in over 5 years. That's dumbfounding. But anyway, the reason I put up the video on hydraulic tubing and made a master list of it, along with all the other metallic tubings, I'm not going to make it steel anymore, just metallic tubing. I'll be doing that edit tonight. Is because there isn't one. And I'm going to try to make a full database lookup thing to work as well. And what type it is. I'll also be doing a video sometime this week on how to reverse engineer metallic cartridges by using these tubings for people who have really obscure guns that can't get cartridges anymore, and their best bet, as stupid as it sounds, is using annealed or drawn copper tubing, normally used for refrigerators, and electrical tubing for shotguns, and of course, well, brake lines for making really obscure cartridges and making them out of steel. I'll also include a video on how to plate the material so that it won't decay cheaply using tin. So, thank you for your comment. It's the first time I've ever been able to do so. Thank you very much for not associating with Peter Kusk anymore, or any of the other dirty half-dozen people, because they dumped you like they did everybody else, and you learned your lesson years ago. And yes, I'm opening an old wound. Look back at your behavior and think. But yeah, thanks for the one time you've posted a civil comment. Literally, this is the only comment that I will hit approved that you've ever left on this channel or any other. Took you long enough, didn't it? Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.